Yep.
And only right at the last part, I was like, I think I can beat Sestan for the first time in my life. And then I went for it.
So there's 15 to 18 kilometers of no civilization, nobody. It's really a rite of passage for everyone who does LDP.
Hello everyone, welcome to our LDP Podcast.
Lost, down, and pushing.
Welcome back to our LDP Podcast, Episode 2. Let's begin, shall we? Why do you think Singapore is a great place for LDP?
I mean, from a training standpoint, I think Singapore is where you can do a lot of heat acclimatization and at the same time enjoy really great scenery.
I think we have the infrastructure for it in terms of our PCNs.
And then, the weather, like you say, is hot, right?
Yes.
And in Singapore, we have this saying, there's a hot, hotter, and rain.
Yep.
These are the three weathers for us. Just a quick explanation, like PCN and what it is. PCN means Park Connector Network. In Singapore, this is a nationwide network that connects all of our different parks together through the neighborhoods and whatnot. Basically, like 150 kilometers unobstructed or something like that at this point, right? But in total, there's about 360 kilometers and growing. On top of that, it has toilets and water stations on every major junction. That's actually a big plus. Pretty much an LDP haven because of that.
And it cuts through so many neighborhoods across Singapore. At any point in time, we can just join a ride because they are skating past my house. Something like that.
Very unlikely to get lost, and like you can hop in and hop out anytime. And because the roads are really marked out properly, conducive for cyclists, it's just as conducive for our LDP as well.
And what do you think are the most commonly used LDP routes for PCN?
Base is probably one of the most common and best places. I mean, I've done close to 2,000 km there. I still think it's one of the best places for everyone to skate.
Philip is a local legend in Adelaide.
And probably the other more common routes will be East Coast Park.
Yep.
If you're a traveler to Singapore, if you fly in from Changi Airport, you can take out your board and you start skating. There is a park connector that brings you from Changi Airport all the way to East Coast Park.
Yeah, and you see dinosaurs along the way. I mean, they're not alive, but
you see literal dinosaurs along the way.
Yeah, the dinosaur mall, we call it.
Jurassic Mall.
Jurassic Mall. Jurassic Mall.
Yeah, and once in a while, if you're there, you might hear Seth in the background trying to pretend he's in Jurassic Park.
Oh, yes, I remember doing that. But it's one of my favorite things to do every time you run right past that route.
My personal favorite is always MBS to Changi Airport.
Right, so Marina Bay to
Yeah.
Changi.
Marina Bay
So-
to Changi.
Marina Bay, if we hit Changi Airport, what's the distance? Does anybody know?
From Marina Bay to Changi Airport, that will be maybe close to
35.
20?
No, it's 20.
Close to 20, yeah.
Just to Changi Airport.
yeah,
Yes,
around
it's
there.
20.
And they're uninterrupted, right?
Uninterrupted all the way.
There's no traffic lights at all.
Just one
Just before you
crossing
reach the
from
airport,
yes,
yeah.
from ECP to Jurassic
yeah.
Mall.
Yeah, just
Oh,
before you reach the airport.
Okay. That's nothing.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
nothing. It's a
that's nothing.
straightforward crossing.
Yeah.
There's no fancy stuff there.
Okay.
Yes.
What about Tanah Merah Coast Road, which spans around the airport? If
I
you
think
add
we
that
all
into the
have
route.
mixed emotions.
Mixed
about
feelings and
that.
emotions. So Tanah Merah Coastal Route, or more affectionately known as TMCR, is our longest route and a rite of passage for everyone who does LDP. To do it alone, to clear that, it's about 15 to 18 kilometers one way from Changi Village all the way into East Coast Park.
Yeah.
So there's 15 to 18 kilometers of no civilization, nobody.
Yes.
It's really a rite of passage for everyone who does LDP.
It's not the most interesting routes, but it's really conducive for like training. There's not much foot traffic, and it's kind of coastal.
The path is great.
Path
is well paved.
It's really the only straight road that we have,
Yes.
like properly straight. Right?
Yeah. I think the downside there is that there is no water. We talk about having a lot of
Yeah.
water points along
but
everywhere in
yeah,
Singapore. That's the
yeah.
only road where
Yeah.
you need your hydration. If not, you
Yes,
will suffer.
It's
Yeah.
still being developed. Yeah.
Mm.
So there are some water points like towards the end, but you
Mm.
got to get there first.
So how do you guys deal with the heat?
My personal secret tip is to wear bright red.
Why?
Now hear me out, because you would think wearing white would reflect the most heat, right? No, it's a lie. Scientifically, it's proven that wearing bright red, because of the color spectrum, it can reflect more of the heat.
Huh.
I've gone out there, I've tested it myself, wearing white, wearing bright red, wearing bright green.
Huh.
Bright red still does the best. At least that's my pro tip for the heat.
I can see Seth's wheels churning. One of
Yeah.
his next videos will probably be him skating in different shirts, clipping some temperature measuring thingy for him to consider. I can
Yeah.
see your wheels turning
Yeah.
shade
For you to
already.
consider is my pro tip. Just wear bright red, yes.
There's another location that is very famous in Singapore. All of us know it. It's a national stadium.
Mm.
When we go talk about the national stadium, one thing comes to mind for me. Do you think it's the best place in the world to test LDP components?
To test LDP components, yes. To test your endurance, yes. To test your mental state, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But for you to learn skating, probably no. At least that's my point of view. Okay, because the reason is the National Stadium track is a circular track.
Yeah.
And if you are going to get a beginner to skate in circles, right, it's going to be very difficult for the beginner to actually balance and constantly be turning.
Yep.
Challenge with that location itself is that it does get quite busy at times. If you are not very an experienced skater, you may get quite a lot of distractions, and that's not great.
Mm.
Yeah,
A lot of joggers
Yeah.
and the inline skaters are really fast.
exactly. And also,
And your children and cats.
and children
Yeah,
and cats as
children.
well, right?
Yes.
If you're a beginner skater, you may let your board fly occasionally, and that's not so good for the others as well, right? Yeah. So I think it's a great place to test our boards, to tinker and to really test out your setups and hang out as well.
But actually, I beg to differ because I still like stadium as a training ground, whether you're a beginner or not, right? The paths are smooth.
Yep.
It's very smooth. It's smoother than the PCN paths.
True.
That's one thing. Secondly, it's shaded. And it is a dedicated kind of like cycling or skating track, if you call that.
Yeah.
The other location that actually has a dedicated cycling track would be Pioneer Stadium, which is all the way
That's
far
the other
west,
side of Singapore, yes.
which has no shade, no
Yeah.
shelter, and you will burn there if it is a hot day.
Yeah.
So really, I think stadium is still one of the best places to pick up skating.
Yeah. The shelter is really a godsend.
Yeah, it's okay. So some fun facts, like since you're talking about shelter, right? It is the world's largest free spanning dome, and the diameter is 312 meters.
The circumference where we skate on is 888 meters.
Yeah, so the track
Meters long, yeah.
within is 880 meters, and it's also the largest stadium in Singapore.
Mm.
Ray, you are the record holder of the 100-kilometer distance, turning in circles at the National Stadium for 6 hours.
Yeah, so that's why Philip was saying it's a good place to test your
Your
mental
mental endurance, yes.
endurance
Yeah.
and whether or not you're actually sane. Because I think any one of us who actually skates 100 kilometers around an 888-meter track, we are not very sane. Maybe.
If I'm correct, it's 113 laps to complete the 100 kilometers.
It's about that.
So I remember when I did it, it was the year of when we were all into this May warm-up challenge. And in fact, the two of us had this personal goal. Actually, you also. Three of
Yeah.
us, we had this goal of doing 1,000 kilometers
Yes.
in 1 month.
Yes.
And I decided to try 100 km on one of the days. Your record back then was 5 hours and 17 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so on that day when I was skating on my own, I remember starting at 4 a.m. in the morning when there was nobody. And I wasn't actually trying to break any record. I just wanted to try that 100 km.
Yeah.
But because it was so smooth, the conditions were so good, halfway through, I think at about 50 odd km in, I started thinking, I think I can actually try and match your pace.
Yep.
So the goal was actually just to match.
Yep.
And only right at the last part, I was like, I think I can beat Seth Tan for the first time in my life. And then I went for it.
And you
And
did.
I did it 5 hours and 15 minutes.
Insanity.
Unfortunately, Strava took my Strava tags. It only clocked 99.97 kilometers and it wasn't officially recorded. I only have a picture of it on my Apple Watch, but I will swear by it that it happened.
You didn't do your contingency lap. That's what happened.
No, I didn't. Apple Watch took it as 100.06. I thought it was safe.
Right.
It wasn't.
If you think about it, not all stadiums are open 24/7, but the National Stadium is. So
Yes.
this allows you to really go there at any point of time in the wee hours when there's less people, it's colder, to really get your skates done, right?
Yes.
I mean, aside from the times where the stadium is closed for concerts, it's largely open, right?
Mm.
And could we talk about the different sections of a loop. I know it's a circle, right? But there are areas where there's tailwind and headwind.
Yes,
Right? I mean, the elevation is 0, the track is smooth, but it's actually a pretty good area to test outright speed with the tailwind. There's 24 gates around this sphere. We term the different areas by gates. 21 is where the headwind really starts, and that's where
Do Tinker Tuesdays at
and that's where Tinker Tuesdays can gather, because you ride off and you get straight into the tailwind first, and you get to the other side, which you fight the headwind, and that tests your
Actually, having done 100 km at the stadium, I find the month where you do your 100 km actually matters. The headwind will start from a different gate.
Yeah.
And your headwind will shift as the night passes.
Yes.
Yes.
So you may have
Agree.
your headwind starting at maybe gate 20, gate 21. By the time you get about 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning, your headwind may be starting from maybe gate 18. Or you may delay all the way to maybe gate 23.
And sometimes the wind is so bad that you're just, this is not the day to clock a record.
Yes. Yes, yes.
There are really bad days. It's a wind tunnel, right? Essentially.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I think with the smooth tracks for tinkering is really good because you get the consistency you need to test out your bushings, especially.
Ideal condition.
But the flip side to it is because it's so smooth, right? Your wheels may not grip exactly like how they will grip outside. I've had my fair share of falls there. I mean, I got a bit of PTSD. I cannot to this day full send on.
That's because the wheels they are using aren't as grippy for those grounds. I believe most of us have figured out which formulas tend to work better at stadium.
Yes, there are some wheels that do work.
Yeah, there are some wheels that we'll avoid as well. lah.
Yeah.
Even just a little bit of water,
Yeah.
you're on the ground.
I saw, yes.
You are on the ground. So you agree that it's one of the best places to test LDP components.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because of the consistency, you can't fight the consistency outside. Even the heat will make your bushings, will make your wheels feel very
This is
distant.
as you pump, the friction. And the other thing is, actually a lot of the local LDP components, right? They are benchmarked at that very free, right? Super City skates, for example, when we got like the drop 1 fork, or any of the trucks, and even with the S-Tail, the speed runs are all at National Stadium.
Yes.
I feel like this place is great for like ideal condition, but sometimes, when we are testing the board, this is great. These wheels, we can't test it because it's too smooth. And when we take the board out, then you start to realize there's a lot of other inlands. But fortunately, just outside the track, we have some little park connected areas, few hundred meters at a time for us to really figure it out.
Actually, the National Stadium also connects to some of the best park connectors.
Yeah.
There's a new park connector next to the National Stadium.
Yep.
They just built that, leads to Kallang. I think that one is really good.
Yep.
Yeah, so actually there's plenty of places you can test. Probably National Stadium, not the best place to test wheels, but maybe the best place to test every other part you have.
But to be fair, the fact that conditions are optimal, right, it allows you to test like the rebound feel of the wheels. Yes. Not its like vibration handling capabilities, right? It's more like how does the rebound work in totality. I think stadium is the best place to isolate or put it down to exactly what the wheels are doing in good conditions. Then you can work on that outside. And that's actually why Tinker Tuesdays started, right? Tinker Tuesdays is just a short introduction. It's a weekly gathering at night at National Stadium, Day 21, where we bring all our boards, and sometimes we even like swap components with each other and just figure out what these boards are capable of. Sometimes you just want to try a truck, you don't want to buy it. We have a community for that. So that's Tinker Tuesdays.
I think one of the key benefits of having Tinker Tuesdays and being in Singapore is because Singapore is small. I mean, we are only 42 km across. It's probably smaller than most other cities in the world.
Yeah.
Because it's small, we can get everyone together in the same location. And where we benefit is because you don't have to buy every part, because there's definitely some guy out there with the part that you need to try.
Yeah.
And we can always
Swap it out.
Swap it out.
try and decide whether you want to buy. So in terms of progression, I think that's where Singapore is slightly faster in terms of LDP. Yeah.
I feel like it's a place where LDP people can gain experience.
Yes.
Like experience comes from the amount of trucks that you're able to try, and that knowledge comes as you go, right? So like when you talk about like the poppy, we all recognize the feel of the poppy, not just as a word, but we recognize the characteristic of the truck, and that comes down to really trying someone else's board that is already, say, in a complete state of tune.
Yeah.
then you put it on your board and you're like, oh, none of that works, but it's the same bushings. Why is that? You know,
I think that's really one of the biggest advantage of that location and having a community event like Taker Tuesday that recurs every week. A lot of the people overseas, they don't really get to meet up as often. All right, like us, they depend a lot on forums for information, for exchange and stuff like that. But for us, we are really blessed to have that platform where beginners or experts or just people who just want to come and find out or just hang out are able to just gather and just do a sport together.
yeah. And we do have people like runners, if they're running and they watch us zoom past them, and occasionally we get one or two people calling us, what's that?
Oh, yeah.
And there was this like surf skate boom after COVID, right? And some of the surf skaters are also like, why are you doing the same thing but differently and
you're
faster? Like,
Yeah,
how do you
the
get
same-
so
same
fast?
by
Yeah.
different kind of
Yeah. And I even got questions like, why is this surf skate so fast? And I'm like, that's not a surf skate. This is an LDP. And when they tried it, although it took a while for them to understand the flow, but I feel like it's a great place to introduce the sport because people are watching us skate. And that's actually probably the best thing that has ever happened to LDP, in my opinion.
Yeah,
So the National Stadium itself, is a
I mean,
location,
you have
all
a-
things considered.
you have a place to demonstrate the sport.
Yeah.
You have a place for people to gather, and you have a place to actually prove that your parts and your sport is a viable sport.
Yes.
So I think the community in general, they're very conducive because of all these elements involved. The stadium, the park connectors, and the only thing they really have to deal with is the heat, right?
But it's not so bad after all. I mean, it's not as hot in the summer in some other countries, right? We are a tiny country on the equator. With us being a city state and all, you're not really that far away from anywhere else for refreshments, water, and other amenities and such. Makes Singapore a very conducive space, right, to start LDP.
So, as we discussed about how conducive it can get in Singapore because of the infrastructure, right? And we talked about the common routes where we are skating through like East Coast or Marina Bay or to Changi. And this is nice, but what are the routes that is more uncommon in Singapore? The ones in the heartlands. Because the park connector really connects all the different neighborhoods to the parks. And these connection points are actually great locations to skate. Like one example is Punggol, right? The waterways are beautiful. So what are your thoughts on all these?
We have a lot actually, right? Punggol is one of them. We've got
In the far west, there's Jurong Lake Gardens.
There's Jurong Lake Gardens. We also have the Green Corridor.
The Green Corridor
was
Yeah.
an old retired railway
Railway
track.
track leading from Singapore to Malaysia, but
Malaysia.
it has been reconverted.
Yeah, so
converted.
part of it has been reconverted.
It's a pretty cool basic.
Yeah, it's to a nice running trail, but it was really good for LDP as well, right? It crossed through this green tunnel and all. So I think Green Corridor track itself is really something quite different from the other routes as well, right? That brings you a little bit into the history of Singapore, right? This old train track that goes all the way north to Malaysia. So we see a lot of different parts of nature, but the heartlands and the less common things that you see.
Yeah, so I think we mentioned a lot about how smooth the PCN roads are.
Yep.
The thing that sets Green Corridor apart is that you will not have the smooth PCN roads.
Yeah.
Oh,
You do have
it's very
some smooth sections, but I think you're more experienced there.
Yeah, there's the kind of a terrain over there. It's quite diverse actually, right? You get some parts where it's kind of smooth, but yes, you have some of these portion that is like a little gravel ish like. You got like kind of stone ish,
Yeah.
all right, textured where of course we have to adapt, so it makes it less mundane, right? Like you kind of react to the elements around, and it's actually what is fun. And then the track over there is not as wide like the normal PCN. Sometimes it's kind of like everyone has to go through a single file,
Yep.
that kind of thing. And yeah, it's good.
PCNs and the widest ends are usually 4 meters, and I think it's 2.5, 2.7 meters. The narrow ones, yeah. But the Green Corridor is less than that,
It
right?
can be
It can be
narrower.
narrow, but
Yeah.
all around you is like greenery and lush plants and such.
And very
And
shaded.
Very shaded. And it's not even completed yet. They're still extending more of it to connect other parts of the PCNs.
Something to look forward to, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think right now it connects from the south, right south of Singapore, Tanjong Pagar.
Yeah.
It goes to the west and then all the way up north to
Yeah.
Kranji.
Yeah, the north part is not that
Oh,
nice.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, and the west part of Singapore is really hilly, right? Like there's a bit of like little elevations, and I believe they are less connected. Like there are a lot of traffic light interruptions.
Yes.
in
There
between.
are, it's also a way to kind of like avoid them, but you kind of go through the longer routes and such.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So for example, like Jurong Lake Gardens, it's a pretty nice 7 km circumference kind of
Yeah.
route.
Yeah.
But it really does not connect to any other
Mm.
park connector. You have to find your way around it and then
Yeah.
somehow make your way from Jurong East all the way to Lakeside. It's not that
Yeah.
far.
It connects to the public paths,
Yes.
which are technically a part of the PCNs. It's kind of great also because it makes Jurong Lake Garden like a pocket of its own.
Yeah.
You know, it has these lakes all around.
And skate park as
Yeah.
well.
As well,
Yeah,
yeah.
it has
True.
skate park there.
It's got a
And
skate
actually
park
the
there.
Chinese garden
Yeah.
also just opened up a
Yeah.
while ago. I haven't been there yet myself, but yeah, I heard it's a nice place.
Yeah.
I think for the west side, it's not that they're not connected. It's just that there's more interruptions in the west compared to like being along the east coast, and that's probably the longest route that is not interrupted,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I think because of that, a super long route, and it's also one of the oldest coastal routes in Singapore, right? And it's sort of have overshadowed the rest of these routes that are slowly getting more
Yeah.
popular,
Yeah.
right? And more conducive for activities and like LDP alike. We definitely have done a few of these round island skates.
Go Island,
Yeah.
Half Island, yeah.
All of these round island skates,
Right.
right? The way we do it is quite interesting because of how small the island is. I like the concept of us forming different gathering locations, so you don't have to, let's say, finish the whole route. Like if you're Westie and you just want to do the west bit, you could wait for the group, and we'll always have like stopping areas where we will then gather and you can do part of the route. And this is, I think, something that is very difficult to do overseas because most of the routes out there are like out and back, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for Singapore, it's so connected that you can bail out with public transport readily available, even in the middle of the night. You
Yeah.
very easily get vehicles to.
You can get a taxi, you can
Yeah.
get a bus.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for that, it really takes away a lot of the stress, like not thinking about what happens if you really need to bail. Can you really bail? In Singapore, the answer is always yes. There's always a way out. And I feel like that really matters more than most people realize.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's really fun to see how some of the guys overseas are roughing it out, crossing canyons, going downhill.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody. Yes. It's great over here, and also for LDP is that like it's a pretty easy spot for anybody to pick up.
And the barrier of entry is a lot lower now than when we first started, right? And under, I would say, $300, you can get a pretty decent board. Below that, there are boards that exist. They're not tested, but it does show that this is probably the future, the lower barrier of entry.
Right.
And with the ample number of park connectors, there's ample places to practice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And one thing also is that these paths are actually constantly being upgraded. Yet the conditions are not necessarily always the best. So, we definitely know a few of the pretty rough parts.
Yeah,
but
there are a few blacklisted areas.
Yeah, they are not all the
Mandai
best.
comes to mind.
Oh,
Yeah,
Hashtag
but
PCSD.
PCNs do come in different forms and sizes. Yeah.
if you see like why do we panic at Mandai, right? If you think about it, okay, number one is there's a skill barrier to slow down at the speed. Number two, we have traffic lights in front of us at the end of the hill,
Yes.
and it's like
And there are cars passing
there are
by.
cars passing
Yeah.
by, and there are cyclists that have no idea that you've got no brakes.
You're beside an expressway. as
Yeah,
well.
and if you're in one of those routes, it's probably not a 4 meter wide, right? Path. It's probably gonna be a narrow one.
And
What-
imagine
yeah.
all of that at night. You can't even see where you're going. You don't even dare to not foot brake because you would not know where you enter.
That is why we have got Thompson.
Yes.
Yeah, Thompson's a pretty interesting training location.
Yeah.
I guess it's the only real place that we can practice a bit of elevation and uphill pushing, right?
I think it is conducive because you have got like two parts of Thompson. The upper part is actually called Old Thompson Road, and it's at night. It's a proper road, but it's closed to cars, right?
Yeah.
So cyclists and people like us, we can be on the road, right? It's not that long, right? I think around 3 kilometers or sorts, but what you can do is just go like loop up and down, and there's a little bit of elevation going on for you to really practice or train how to manage your downhill.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then if you want to go a bit lower, right, where you can kind of like bomb downhill for about almost 2 kilometers, right, and there's a nice smooth runoff, right, so which makes it also conducive to learn how to manage going downhill at higher speeds.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, but then of course there's also the climb, right, and that builds up your endurance and your strength.
I mean, with a bracket, it's not a top LDP or worse still a top mount, it's really hard to stop at speed. If we're reading the bleed all quickly, we normally just run off the board, right?
Yeah, right.
That's still the best method for us.
Yeah.
But all things considered, I think it's really fine to skate on the park connector, and the good routes, the bad routes, whatever it is, it really brings everybody together and talk about the routes on Tuesdays. You know, like we will talk about like, oh, where do you skate this week? And this is sometimes a conversation starter, and it helps us understand like why people build their setup in a certain way. But with that said, I think this is going to be the end of the episode. So the next episode, we will talk about where we are in competition, which is a 6-hour ultra skate. So thanks for watching. Happy skating.
Bye.
Lost, dumb, and pushing.